They say you can't protect someone from beyond the grave, but my husband Harold did something I didn't know about until everything fell apart. And when it did, I realized he'd been protecting me all along. 45 years. That's how long we were married. He was a postal worker for 36 of those years. Steady, reliable, always home by 6 o'clock. He wasn't the most exciting man in the world, but he was dependable. He noticed things. He saw people. And most importantly, he saw our sons for who they really were. Harold died 8 years ago. Cancer. I was with him at the end, holding his hand, telling him everything would be okay. He was 74. I was 62. I thought we had more time. Everyone thinks that. The will seemed straightforward. Everything to me. The house, the savings account, a few investments. I was grieving, barely sleeping, making funeral arrangements. Our sons, Edward and William, they showed up. They were sympathetic. They gave eulogies about what a great father Harold had been. Edward's wife, Barbara, brought casseroles. William's wife, Sheila, helped me make phone calls. It all seemed so normal. But there's something you need to know about Edward and William. They'd always been a little too interested in money. When Harold was sick, they were very attentive about knowing what his assets were. They asked carefully, not directly, but the questions were there. What was in the accounts? Did he have property they didn't know about? It made Harold uncomfortable. He'd mentioned it to me a few times, but not in a way that made me truly understand. 3 years after Harold died, I had a fall. Nothing dramatic, just slipped on some ice in the driveway. But it was enough to break my knee badly. I needed surgery. I was going to be in the hospital for several days, then recovery at home for weeks. It was the first time since Harold's death that I really felt vulnerable, alone. The morning I went into surgery, there was a knock on my door. I wasn't home. I was already at the hospital. But Edward had a key. He and William came to the house while I was sedated, and they served my housekeeper papers. Divorce papers? No, something worse. A will. A different will. A will that didn't come from Harold. They claimed this was Harold's true final will. It said that I, Catherine, his wife of 45 years, would receive $750 a month. That's it. Out of charity, the document said. Out of charity. Like I was a stranger they were taking pity on. The rest was split between Edward and William. The house, the investments, everything. They timed it perfectly. My lawyer wouldn't be able to reach me for days. I'd be groggy from surgery. They were betting I'd be confused, desperate, willing to accept whatever they said without fighting. But they didn't count on Arthur Graves. Arthur was Harold's best friend. They'd met in the army, served together, and had stayed close for nearly 50 years. Harold trusted Arthur like a brother. Arthur was a retired estate attorney, someone who understood wills and trusts and all the legal machinery that protects people. 8 years before Harold died, when Edward and William were starting to show their true colors, when Harold was beginning to worry, he went to Arthur. He didn't tell me about it. He just went to Arthur and said, "I have a problem. I love my sons, but I don't trust them." Arthur listened, and then Arthur did something brilliant. He helped Harold create an irrevocable living trust, and into that trust, Harold placed things the boys didn't know about. A rental duplex, 2 other properties that Harold had acquired over the years, 4 investment accounts, and $380,000 in cash savings. All of it, every penny of it, went into that trust with Catherine as the sole beneficiary. Me, everything protected in a legal structure that Edward and William couldn't touch, couldn't forge, couldn't fake. The main will, the one I knew about, that covered the house and some smaller accounts, that was the one they forged. And it worked, in a way. They created a document that looked official. They had it signed. They had it witnessed. They served it properly. But it was worthless. All of it was worthless. Because the real assets, the things that actually mattered, were already protected by Harold's foresight, by Harold's fear that turned out to be completely justified. I found out about the fake will from my hospital bed. A nurse came in with a phone. It was Arthur. He told me everything. He explained what the forged will said, and then he explained what Harold had done. He explained that I owned a duplex, that I owned 2 other properties, that I had hundreds of thousands of dollars that the boys had no claim to whatsoever. I cried. I honestly don't know if I was crying from rage or relief or grief or something else entirely, maybe all of it at once. The investigation happened quickly. The prosecutor took one look at what Edward and William had done, the timing, the forgery, the obvious financial motive, and charges were filed. They both lawyered up. They both pled guilty. Edward got probation and community service. William got probation and community service. They both have permanent records now, both of them, our sons. Harold's letter came to me later. Arthur had kept it sealed in an envelope with instructions to give it to me only if something like this happened. And something did happen. So I opened it. It was in Harold's handwriting, shaky at the end. He'd written it not long before he died. He said, "Catherine, if you're reading this, something bad happened. I'm sorry. I should have told you about the trust, but I wanted you to have this nest egg without the burden of knowing I was protecting you from our boys. I wanted you to just grieve me and remember the good times. So now I'm going to ask something from you. Live your life. Don't waste it being angry at Edward and William. They made their choices. You make yours. Buy yourself some flowers. Go to that seafood restaurant we loved, the one on the pier. Go alone or with friends or with someone new. Wear that blue dress you always thought was too fancy. Live like you're 7 again, and everything is still possible. I love you. I'll always love you. Take care of yourself." I read that letter about 50 times. I still do, actually. That was 5 years ago. I did what Harold asked. I sold the family home, the one Edward and William tried to steal. I took the proceeds from the duplex rental income and my share of the investments, and I moved to a little coastal town. I found a small house with a garden facing the water. I planted roses. I planted lavender. I planted things that come back every year, reminding me that there's still time, still seasons, still beauty to create. Every Friday I go to that seafood restaurant, the one Harold and I loved. I sit at a table by the window and I order their special, whatever it is that week, and I eat slowly and I watch the water. And I think about a man who loved me so much that he created a wall of legal protection from beyond the grave. A wall he built 8 years before he died, just in case. Edward and William don't speak to me. They've started their own lives somewhere else. I think sometimes about what Harold would want me to do with that knowledge, and I always come back to his letter. Live. That's what he wanted. Not to dwell in bitterness, but to live. So I do. Every day I live. I wake up in my house with the garden. I see the water. I walk to the restaurant on Fridays. And somewhere in all of this, Harold is still taking care of me, still making sure I'm okay, still making sure I have what I need. Some people leave you money. Some leave you memories. Harold left me both. But he also left me proof that love isn't something that ends when the heart stops beating. It just changes shape. It becomes more creative. It builds walls. It protects. It says, I knew this might happen, and I'm going to make damn sure you're safe anyway. That's the will he built from the grave. And every Friday, when I go to that restaurant, when I eat seafood and watch the water, and wear that blue dress he told me to wear, I know he's still there, still loving me, still taking care of me, still winning.